The contract. The rain fell hard on the metal roofs of the alien city, cold and silver under the neon lights. The street smelled like wet dust and machine oil, and somewhere between the noise of hovercars and glowing signs, a lone human walked slowly. His name was Ethan Hale, a former soldier who had lost everything after the Terran Wars ended. He didn't belong here, among the alien species that looked at him with suspicion and curiosity. Humans were rare in this part of the galaxy. Some called them dangerous. Others called them myths. Ethan didn't care anymore. He just wanted to survive. He stopped outside a dull metal building with a flickering sign that read, Bio Lease Service, Certified Companions for Worker Care. Inside, the air was cold, sterile, filled with soft hums of machines. Rows of glass pods lined the walls, and inside each pod stood an alien woman, some with scales, some with fur, some with glowing eyes. Ethan's tired eyes stopped on one. She had silver skin with faint blue veins glowing softly under the surface. Her white hair fell over her shoulders, and her eyes, deep violet and full of quiet fire, met his. The tag on her pod read simply, Unit Kira, leased once, returned unsuitable. The clerk, a tall insectoid being, clicked his mandibles. Cheap model human, he said. Defiant, not trained well, half price if you pay now. Ethan didn't want a slave. He just wanted someone who could help him run his workshop, maybe talk to him sometimes. The loneliness in the alien city was heavier than the gravity. He sighed and said, I'll take her. The clerk grinned and tapped on the console. A number flashed. 2,000 credits. Ethan placed his chipped card on the table. The deal was done. The pod opened with a hiss, and Kira stepped out barefoot, trembling slightly, but her eyes still burned with something fierce. You paid for me, she said quietly, her voice calm, but edged with something dangerous. Now do it. Ethan frowned. Do what? She looked straight into his eyes. Whatever humans do when they buy someone, she said. You paid for me, so take what you came for. Ethan froze. The words hit him like a blade. He saw no fear in her, only defiance, pain, and expectation. She wasn't offering herself. She was testing him. He stepped back slowly and said softly, You're not my property. I didn't buy you for that. You're free to leave if you want. For a moment, silence filled the room. Then, Kira blinked, as if the concept of freedom didn't exist in her world. Her breath caught. You're lying, she whispered. No one frees a lease. Ethan just shrugged. Then I guess I'm no one. The alien girl looked at him like she was seeing a ghost. She didn't move, didn't run. Her heart pounded in her chest. This human was not what she expected, not what anyone expected. Outside, thunder cracked through the night sky. Inside, two strangers stood in the soft glow of blue light, one broken by war, one broken by ownership, neither ready to trust. And yet something strange began that night, something that would change both their lives. Because by dawn, Kira was still there, sitting silently beside the window of his workshop, watching the rain fall, as if trying to understand what kind of man would buy her, only to set her free. The quiet morning. The morning light crept through the cracked window, painting soft silver lines on the metal walls. Ethan woke up to the faint smell of burned coffee and the quiet hum of machines. For a moment, he forgot there was someone else in his home. Then he saw her, Kira, sitting on the floor with a small tool in her hands. She was watching a drone that refused to fly. Her fingers moved carefully, fixing wires, her white hair glowing in the morning light. She looked calm, focused, and almost human. You know how to repair drones? Ethan asked, his voice still sleepy. Kira didn't look up. I watched you last night, she said. You were doing it wrong. Ethan raised an eyebrow. I was tired, he said with a small smile. She didn't smile back, but her lips twitched slightly, almost like she wanted to. She placed the drone on the table, pressed a switch, and it lifted slowly into the air, hovering quietly. Ethan blinked, impressed. Guess I did buy the right one, he said softly. Her violet eyes met his. You didn't buy me, she reminded him. You said I was free. Ethan looked at her for a long moment, then nodded. Yeah, I did, he said. So you can stay if you want, or go anywhere you wish. Kira turned away, her expression unreadable. You humans confuse me, she whispered. No one gives freedom without a reason. Ethan sighed. Maybe my reason is simple, he said. I've done enough harm in my life, I don't want to add more. Kira studied his face. The tired eyes, the scars on his hands, the quiet sadness in his voice. She didn't understand it, but something about this human made her chest ache in a way she didn't like. Later that day, she helped him around the workshop. She organized tools, fixed circuits, and even repaired a broken welding arm. Ethan watched her work, realizing she was far more skilled than he had guessed. When night came again, they sat quietly across the table, eating in silence. The air between them was still thick with unspoken questions. Finally, Kira spoke. Why did you leave your world? Ethan looked down at his food. Because my world left me first, he said, his tone low and rough. After the war, no one wanted soldiers anymore, especially humans who fought against orders. Kira tilted her head. You broke your own law? Ethan nodded. Sometimes the law is wrong. She didn't respond, but something in her eyes softened, as if she understood a piece of him now. Outside, the storm returned. Lightning flashed over the city. The power flickered and the lights went out. In the dark, Ethan heard Kira's soft voice. I'm not afraid of darkness, she said, but I am afraid of silence. Ethan lit a small lantern, its warm light falling between them. Then we'll make sure it's never silent here, he said. Kira looked at him for a long time, her heart beating faster. She didn't know what was happening inside her. She was built to obey, trained to follow. But around this man, she felt something new, something alive. That night, when Ethan fell asleep at his workbench, Kira placed a blanket over his shoulders. Her hands trembled as she touched him. For the first time in her life, she did something not because she was ordered to, but because she wanted to. And deep inside, she didn't realize that the feeling growing in her chest was something even stronger than defiance. It was the beginning of love. The memory in the wires. The next morning, Ethan found Kira standing near the workshop's main console. The holographic screens glowed around her like misty light. Her hands moved fast, lines of alien code running across the air. Ethan rubbed his eyes. What are you doing? She didn't look at him. Checking your security, she said softly. Someone tried to trace your ID signal last night. He frowned, stepping closer. Who? I don't know, she replied. But the signal came from the outer grid. Someone was searching for a human, maybe you. Ethan's jaw tightened. He had tried to stay hidden for years. Ever since the war ended. You think they found me? Kira turned her head, her silver hair brushing against her cheek. Not yet, but they will, she said quietly. Humans are valuable even more than you think, he sighed, running a hand through his hair. Great. Just what I needed. Kira studied him carefully. You're afraid, she said, but not for yourself. He looked at her, the faint glow of her violet eyes reflecting in his. I don't want trouble coming to you, he said simply. Her heart skipped. She didn't know why his words warmed her chest, but she turned away quickly, pretending to focus on the screen. I can take care of myself, she muttered. Ethan smiled a little. Yeah, I've seen that, he said, remembering the way she had fixed the drone faster than him. For a few quiet hours they worked together. The workshop was filled with the sounds of machines, tools and soft humming from Kira as she soldered parts. It was peaceful, almost too peaceful then. Something flickered in her eyes. She froze, staring at the glowing wire she held. A sharp pain flashed in her head. Her body trembled, and she dropped the tool. Kira! Ethan rushed to her side, catching her before she hit the floor. Her body shook as old memories flooded her mind. Bright lights, screaming, the sound of chains, and a cold voice saying, Test Unit Kira, emotion malfunction detected, she gasped. Eyes wide. No, please, don't reset me, she whispered weakly, tears forming at the corners of her glowing eyes. Ethan held her tighter. It's okay, it's me. "You're safe," he said. Her shaking slowed. She looked up at him, his face close, his voice calm, steady, human. Her trembling hand reached for his arm. "They hurt me," she said softly. When I tried to feel, Ethan swallowed hard, his throat dry. "You don't have to go back there," he said firmly. "You're free now. No one will touch you again." Kira blinked slowly, the pain fading, replaced by something warm and strange. His words wrapped around her like light in the dark. Later, when she recovered, she sat silently by the window, watching the alien city below. The neon lights painted her face in colors that didn't belong to Earth. She whispered, "I don't understand you. Human. You should have sold me back. You could have made money, Ethan." Working beside her, smiled faintly. "I'm tired of trading people for profit," he said. "I just wanted someone to talk to, that's all." Kira looked at him for a long time, her heart heavy and confused. In her world, kindness always came with a price, but his kindness felt different, quiet, real and painful to accept. That night, while Ethan slept again at the desk, Kira touched her chest and whispered to herself, "Maybe. My malfunction was never a mistake." She looked at him, the human who had given her freedom, and something deep inside her changed forever. Outside, the city lights shimmered like distant stars, but inside that small workshop, a heart that was never supposed to feel had just begun to awaken. The stranger at the door, the storm returned that night, rain beating against the steel windows of the workshop. Ethan was half asleep when the alarm light blinked red. A visitor at the outer gate, he frowned. No one ever came here. Kira was already standing by the window, her violet eyes glowing faintly. "Someone's outside," she whispered. Ethan picked up his old pulse rifle and moved to the door. "Stay behind me," he said. When the door slid open, a tall alien stood in the rain, his armor black and marked with strange silver symbols. His eyes glowed blue, cold and sharp. "Ethan Hale," the alien said, his voice deep and smooth. "You have something that belongs to the House of Vareth." Ethan's grip on the rifle tightened. "I don't think so," he said. The alien tilted his head. "Unit Kira," he said, his gaze shifting past Ethan. "She is a property of my house, stolen and resold illegally. I've come to reclaim her." Behind Ethan, Kira froze, her hands trembling. She whispered, "Commander Vareth." The name tasting like ash, Ethan looked back at her, confusion flashing in his eyes. "You know him?" Her voice shook. "He was the one who created me." Vareth stepped forward, rain dripping from his armor. "She is incomplete," he said coldly. "Her emotions were an error. She must be returned for correction." Ethan stepped between them. "She's not a machine," he said, his tone firm. "You can't just take her like a tool." The alien commander's expression didn't change. "You misunderstand, human," he said. "She is not alive, she is property. A prototype that disobeyed." Kira's eyes filled with anger and fear. "I am not your experiment," she said, her voice trembling. "I choose to stay here." Vareth laughed softly. "You choose nothing. Your mind was built by me." Ethan raised his weapon. "You should leave," he warned. Vareth's blue eyes glowed brighter. "You would fight for her? A defective creation?" Ethan's heart pounded. "She's more human than most people I've met," he said quietly. For a long moment, only the sound of rain filled the silence. Then Vareth spoke again. "You've grown attached, human," he said. "But you don't understand what she carries inside." Kira stepped forward, her hands shaking. "What do you mean?" Vareth's gaze turned to her. "You were designed to merge with a human host," he said slowly. "To bridge our DNA, you were made for him." He pointed at Ethan. Kira's breath caught, the world spinning around her. "That's impossible," she whispered. Ethan looked stunned. "Merge? What does that mean?" Vareth smiled coldly. "Your kind and hers could create something new, something powerful. She was the final experiment, and you are the perfect subject." Kira took a step back, shaking her head. "No, you're lying." The commander's smile faded. "You feel it, don't you?" he said, the pull toward him, the bond forming. "It's in your code." Ethan lowered his rifle slightly, his mind racing. "So you're saying she was built to—" "Yes," Vareth interrupted. "To carry life, human life." Silence fell, broken only by the rumble of thunder. Kira stared at Ethan, her chest tight, her voice a whisper. "You paid for me. Now do it," she said again, the words from their first meeting haunting them both. But now they carried a deeper, painful meaning. Vareth stepped closer. "She is already changing. Soon her body will reject her freedom." Ethan glared. She's not yours anymore, he said firmly.
Leave or I'll make you. Vareth's eyes narrowed.
But he slowly stepped back into the rain. Then you've chosen her fate, he said. And yours. As he disappeared into the storm, Kira fell to her knees. Trembling, Ethan rushed to her, holding her close. I don't know what he meant, she whispered, but something inside me feels different. Ethan held her tighter, fear and love twisting in his chest. Outside, lightning tore across the sky, and somewhere in the shadows, destiny had already begun to move. The change within the night after Vareth left. The storm did not stop, rain kept falling, washing the neon colors of the city into silver rivers. Inside the small workshop, silence sat heavy. Ethan worked at the bench, but his eyes kept drifting toward Kira. She sat on the floor, her hands pressed against her chest, breathing hard. Her skin glowed faintly under the light, veins of blue spreading like tiny roots beneath the surface. Something is wrong with me, she whispered. Her voice shaking, Ethan moved closer, worry deep in his eyes. Is it pain? She nodded. It feels like my body is burning and freezing at the same time. He knelt beside her, unsure what to do. Maybe it's what that alien said, he muttered. Some kind of reaction. Kira's eyes lifted to his, shimmering with fear and confusion. He said I was made to carry life, she said softly. But how could that be possible? Ethan didn't answer. He didn't want to believe it either. She was made of wires and cells, half living and half engineered, and yet everything about her felt real. Her warmth, her tears, even the way she laughed. Hours passed, her breathing grew shallow. Ethan stayed by her side, holding her hand. Stay with me, he said quietly. We'll figure it out. Kira looked at him, her eyes wet. Why do you care so much, human? He smiled faintly. Because you taught me to feel again, he said. I thought I was done with caring. Her lips trembled. You're strange, Ya, she whispered. But I think I like that. Then a sharp flash ran through her body and she cried out. Her back arched. Light spilling from her skin, Ethan shouted her name. Panic flooding his voice for a few seconds. The room glowed like a sunrise. Then it faded. Kira fell against him, shaking but alive, her heartbeat steady. Strong, echoed softly against his chest. He looked at her face, pale and beautiful under the soft light. It's over, he said. You're safe, but Kira shook her head weakly. No, she whispered, it's not over. I can feel something inside me. Ethan's breath caught. Inside you? She nodded slowly, pressing her hand to her abdomen. A pulse. Not mine. He stared at her, unable to speak. His mind refused to believe what his heart already feared. Kira looked down, trembling. He was right, she said softly. My body changed. I carry your energy now. Ethan pulled back slightly. That can't be, we never. But Kira touched his chest gently. It's not about that, she whispered. It happened when you gave me your blood sample to heal, remember? Your cells mixed with mine, they started something new. Ethan froze, remembering the day he had tried to fix her damaged circuits with nanoblood. She had been dying then and he hadn't known it could do this. Kira smiled weakly. It's strange, she said. I don't feel broken anymore. He looked at her, eyes soft. So what does this mean? She leaned against him, whispering. It means we're connected now. More than anyone ever planned. Outside, thunder rolled again, but inside, everything was still. Ethan held her close, unsure of what tomorrow would bring, but certain of one thing. He would never let anyone take her away again. That night, as Kira slept in his arms, the faint glow under her skin pulsed in rhythm with his heartbeat. Somewhere deep within her life, something impossible, something new, had begun to grow. The hunt begins days passed after the storm, and the city outside seemed quieter than usual. But Ethan could feel something wrong in the air, like the silence before an explosion. He tried to focus on repairing drones for customers, yet his eyes kept drifting to Kira. Her silver skin now glowed faintly even in daylight. Her movements were slower, gentler, and every so often she would pause, pressing a hand to her stomach as if feeling something inside. Ethan didn't ask anymore, he already knew that morning. While Ethan was outside getting supplies, a small hovering drone appeared above the workshop. Its lens blinked red, scanning the building. Then a voice echoed from its speakers, cold and sharp. Human Ethan Hale, surrender the prototype Kira 9 or face termination. Kira froze where she stood, her heart pounding. She smashed the drone with a metal rod, sparks flying. The wreck fell to the floor smoking. She whispered, "They found us." Ethan returned minutes later, dropping the bag in his hands when he saw the wreckage. "Who?" he asked. "Vareth's hunters," she said. "They tracked my signal." He cursed under his breath. "We need to move. Within an hour." They packed everything essential: tools, data chips, food rations, and an old speeder hidden under the workshop. The sky outside was dark again, full of gray clouds that hid the stars. As they left the city, Kira turned to look back. "I used to think I belonged in a lab," she whispered. "Now it feels like I was never meant to be caged." Ethan looked at her through the mirror. "You were meant to live," he said, "same as anyone else." For a brief moment, a small smile touched her lips, but it faded as the radar beeped. 3 dark ships appeared behind them. "Fast and silent, they're here," Ethan said, pushing the speeder to its limit. The engines roared, wind howling past them. Kira's hands gripped the seat, her glowing eyes watching the sky. One of the ships fired, a bolt of energy slicing past, exploding in the sand beside them. The speeder shook violently. "Hang on!" Ethan shouted. Kira closed her eyes, the blue light under her skin pulsing brighter. "I can stop them," she said, "but I need time." Ethan didn't hesitate. "Do it," he said, swerving hard between dunes. Kira placed her hands on the console, her skin fused with the metal, and light spread through the speeder's circuits. The entire craft hummed with energy. "What are you doing?" Ethan shouted. "Connecting," she whispered, "to everything." Behind them, the pursuing ships slowed, their controls flickering. Lights went out one by one. Then, in a flash of blue energy, their engines died, and all 3 fell from the sky, crashing into the desert. The silence that followed was deafening. Ethan looked at her in awe. You did that?" Kira opened her eyes slowly. "I don't know how," she said softly. "It's like my body listens to your heartbeat and the machines obey." Ethan reached for her hand. "You saved us." Her fingers tightened around his. "No," she whispered. "We saved each other," but she didn't tell him what she felt next. A deep pull inside her, like a second heartbeat growing stronger. The light beneath her skin now pulsed with a rhythm not her own. That night they found shelter inside an abandoned station. The walls were cracked, the air cold, but it was quiet, safe for now. As Kira leaned against Ethan's shoulder, she whispered, "They'll keep coming." Ethan nodded, his eyes staring into the dark. "Then we'll keep running until they can't find us, or until we make them stop." Outside, the wind howled across the wasteland, carrying dust and silence, but inside the small room, 2 lives, 1 human, 1 maid, beat as one. The last promise. The desert sun rose pale and cold over the broken station. Ethan woke before dawn, his body sore and tired, but his mind clear. He looked at Kira, sleeping beside the flickering lantern. Her skin shimmered faintly, veins glowing like blue fire under the surface. She wasn't the same as before. The changes had become faster. Her heart now beat with a rhythm that seemed to echo through the air. The machines around them hummed softly. Reacting to her presence, Ethan touched her hand gently. "Hey, wake up," he whispered. Kira's eyes opened slowly, violet and bright. "I had a dream," she murmured. "It felt real." He smiled faintly. "What was it about?" She paused. "A small place," she said. "Green and quiet. You were there, and something small was laughing, I think." It was ours. Ethan's chest tightened. Part of him wanted to believe her. Part of him was afraid to. "Kira," he said softly, "whatever happens next, we'll face it together." Before she could answer, the station trembled. Outside, engines roared. Sand flew in clouds as dark ships descended again. This time they didn't come to capture, they came to erase. Kira stood up slowly, the blue light from her body spilling brighter. "They won't stop until I'm gone," she said quietly. "They can't let something like me live." Ethan loaded his rifle, his jaw set. "Then they'll have to go through me first." The doors exploded inward, metal shards flying. Soldiers in black armor stormed inside, blasters ready. Ethan fired first, his shots clean, precise. The air filled with smoke and sparks. Kira closed her eyes, her body glowing brighter. Machines screamed as their systems overloaded. The floor cracked, the light shattered. The soldiers' weapons died in their hands. Then came the voice, Vareth's voice, booming through the static. "Kira, stop this madness." "You were never meant to live beyond your design." Her eyes blazed. "Maybe that's why I was made." "To prove you wrong." The commander appeared through the smoke, armor gleaming, face cold as stone. "You carry something impossible inside you," he said. "A hybrid spark that should not exist. Give it up, and I'll spare him." Ethan stepped between them. "You'll have to kill me first," he said. Ferreth's eyes narrowed. "So be it." But before he could fire, Kira moved. Her hand touched the air, and the world seemed to stop. Energy rippled outward, blue and gold. Washing over everything, the machines bowed to her will. And even Vereth's weapon melted into light. Her voice shook but carried strength. "You built me to obey, but I choose my own path." Vereth stumbled back. "You'll destroy yourself," he shouted. She smiled faintly. "Maybe," she said. "But I'll save him." Ethan reached for her. "Kira, don't." She turned to him. Her eyes soft. "You gave me freedom, Ethan. Now I'll give you a future." The light burst around them, swallowing the storm, the fire, and the sound. When it faded, the desert was still, the ships were gone, and the sky had turned quiet again. Ethan woke alone among the ruins. The air smelled clean. Warm, he stood up, calling her name. But there was only silence. Then, from the dust, he saw something, a small, glowing cradle of metal and light. Inside it, something moved. Breathing softly, Ethan knelt down, tears in his eyes. "Kira," he whispered. The tiny form inside opened glowing violet eyes, the same eyes that had once looked at him with defiance and love. He smiled, broken but full of hope. "Guess you kept your promise," he said quietly, and as the sun rose over the endless sand, one human and one new life began the story that would one day rewrite the meaning of what it was to be alive.